Good evening. Welcome to Inside Asia. I am Akarapong Kamkun, your host for tonight. Today, our topic is very critical. We are going to talk with Dr. Yukti Mukdavijit, an assistant professor from the Faculty of Sociology and Anthropology, Thammasat University. Welcome to our Inside Asia, Ajahn. And today, I think we will come to the very hard talk of majority and minority in Southeast Asia. And basically, I would like to ask you, what does it mean by saying majority or minority?
It's a very critical question, and actually, in order to define who are the majority, who are the minorities, we need to understand the term ethnicity, which I refer to how do people identify themselves to the group that people belong to.
Yes.
So it doesn't mean that we can say that people who are because of their sexual identification, so that they can be minorities. But what we are talking about now is I'd like to just limit to the group of people who identify themselves by ethnicities. Otherwise, we have to talk about so many different things, and then we cannot cover them all.
So that means it has nothing to do with numbers of people, right?
Right, that's true. Because when we are talking about majority and minorities, a lot of time we are encountering the problem that instead of the majority who are the number of the huge number of the population could in fact be minorities in one country. So for example, if we're talking about the Muslims who are living in southern Thailand, they are majority in their own lands, in their own countries in the past at least. But when we incorporate them into or annex their lands into our countries, so then they became minorities of the countries. So when we talk about majority and minorities in a specific way, two things I think we have to keep in mind. One is you're talking about ethnicities, the identification that refers to how people identify themselves with the culture, with language, with the way of living. That is one thing. The other is power relations, the hierarchical relations between a group of people who own the state, who have the powers, who are more powerful, and those groups who are have fewer powers, they are under or became incorporated into the countries, even though they are majority in their own countries.
So that means if the majority in terms of number could be minority in terms of power.
Yes, that's true. For example, if we talk about the Chinese in many countries in Southeast Asia, for example, in Indonesia, in Vietnam, or even in Thailand, the number of people who live in specific areas, especially in the cities, in towns or in the cities, they are majorities of the areas, but they became minorities under the states that they belong to. So then that's very critical problems.
So that means in ASEAN, in terms of ASEAN, we have about 500 million populations. And who is the majority and who is the minority?
Well, the way I define them, and then I think I can also encourage you to follow my idea, is that when we talk about majorities, I refer to the people who own the state's powers, or those who identify themselves as the majorities are the one who handle the state power.
Could you please give us an example?
For example, in Thailand, of course, we're talking about a very limited number of people who own the state powers, who control the countries, who are the Thais, and especially the Thai who are from Bangkok. In fact, we have to accept that, because a lot of things that we have been teaching the students in the countries and then to tell everyone in the world that we are Thai, it means it refers to the people of Bangkok, especially language. That is one thing that we can see, like it's very clear that how Thailand identify itself with people from Bangkok. And for Vietnam, for example, we also talks about, well, we can claim that the majority of people in Vietnam are the Vietnamese or the Viets or the kings who like speaks Vietnamese or who like have one way of living, follows the like one kinds of religions beliefs. But in fact, they in terms of the lands that they conquer, the lands that the area where they live, it's also actually limited within the valleys, especially two valleys. One is the Red River valleys or deltas, Red River deltas, and the Mekong deltas in the south. So other than that, very few Vietnamese live in those mountainous areas that covers from north to south. So then when we talk about the majority of people in Vietnam, we usually refer to the king or the Viets, who are just like one part of the countries in terms of population.
Okay, so after the break, we will come back to discuss more about this majority and minority power in ASEAN. Stay tuned.